Our journey to COP28 starts in Zurich at the headquarters of Zep Re. Here, we welcome our partners from Africa to share with us how agriculture insurance can play a key role in promoting climate resilience and financial inclusion for farmers in the Horn of Africa. The agricultural sector is crucial to many African economies, but it is increasingly threatened by changing climatic patterns. Countries like Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Kenya experience extreme dry conditions, which pose both economic and social challenges to the pastoral communities. This is why the World Bank, alongside members of the private sector such as Zep Re and Zep Re, has implemented the de-risking, inclusion, and value enhancement of pastoral economies project, in short, DRIVE. Join Hope, Olivier, and Veronica to learn how this exciting project has managed, within 1 year, to improve the climate resilience of over 1 million pastoralists and what the plans are for the future of this great example of public-private collaboration.
First of all, thanks, Veronica, for having me here, and great to see Hope joining as well. Look, from the bank perspective, we fully acknowledge that the World Bank, in particular, is transforming itself to become a better and bigger bank. So, as you know, we are about to change the mission of the World Bank to be about living on a livable planet. So I think it does resonate very well with the COP28. Maybe one more thing, if I may, just to keep in mind, we expect about 130 million additional people to be pushed into poverty if we cannot tackle major climate change issues by 2030. So we need to take care of those who may, again, fall into poverty because of climate change. And COP can help with that.
Olivier, this is absolutely a fantastic way to center the issue. You're right, there is a need for urgent actions, and the bank can do so much in mobilizing and catalyzing activities to build resilience. But for many of us, or many of the folks that are not attached to the work that either of you do day in, day out, the concept of resilience remains still very woolly, right? Very unspecified. So could I ask you maybe to give us, Hope, your personal interpretation? What does building resilience means to you, to Zep Re, to the projects that you're committed to?
Thanks, Veronica. So indeed, if you look at the project we're involved in, DRIVE, with the World Bank and yourselves, we know that the last few years we've had the worst drought in over 40 years. You've had a community in the Horn of Africa who are pastoralists lose their cattle in millions. So the livelihoods are shattered. And this is no longer a 1 in 100, 250 year occurrence. It's happening more often, and the severity is also increasing. So how do we make sure that these communities are able to withstand such shocks, get from those shocks stronger, and be able to have better livelihoods? Because we actually know that this is going to happen. And the case of DRIVE, indeed, is interesting, is a showcase that people need to study very hard. This is trying to solve a regional problem with a regional solution, because it's very, very difficult to be able to scale up the kind of initiatives that create impact at a national level, especially because the issues are shared.
And Olivier, what do you say would be for you this building resilience objective through this project? You know, how does the World Bank see to create this resilience specifically through DRIVE?
So for me, DRIVE is a very good example of moving from, I would say, mission to action. As you know, the pastoralists are quite largest population, in fact, in the Horn of Africa. And this business, the trade value around livestock is more than 1 billion a year. So the point is very much to give those pastoralists the ability to improve their jobs, if I may say, their economic activity. And this is the best way to make them resilient. So in that context, the DRIVE project helps us and them, in fact, those vulnerable pastoralists being resilient at two levels. One, I would say the financial resilience, It's more about short-term resilience, and this is what Hope will elaborate later, building a set of financial services that will make sure that they can access emergency funding, if I may say, when pastoralists are hit by droughts, but also working on a long-term resilience, which is to improve the value chain of livestock. And the more we can improve the value chain of livestock, the more resilient they will be. And this kind of dual approach, short-term resilience and longer-term resilience, will ultimately help on the development of this economy in the Horn of Africa.
As you said, Olivier, how do you empower these families and these communities to derive economic, financial self-sufficiency over time, but also mechanisms to protect against shocks. Olivier, anything you would like to add about the financial innovation that this project can bring about?
No, again, just to highlight the importance of financial inclusion. As Hope said, this is part of a much larger financial package that those vulnerable pastoralists need to access, which again then is led to improved productivity, and then which leads to better development and then better resilience. In that context, it's also very important to highlight at this stage the role of the private sector. At least from the bank perspective, those challenges, development challenges, cannot be dealt purely with public funding or World Bank funding or any multilateral development funding. We need to bring the private sector.
And my experience from our conversations with the two of you is that this isn't indeed a singular product, but it's a program of interventions. And the ambition that I'm quite excited to support is this idea of creating market access, creating a marketplace for the pastoralists and their families, but also all of this is facilitated through a lot of technology. So would you share a little bit with us, these technological components of how you create these markets, as well as the pipeline of projects, of ideas, of new, as you said, new products and solutions, Takaful, health, etc., that could be integrated and made available?
Great. Yeah. So this is digitally driven, by the way. So I think that's very important. When you think about pastoralists, when you think about drought-stricken areas, you might think that it has to be non-digital. We have a digital platform, and it's very important that somebody receives money in their digital account. We are ahead even of the timelines and the numbers we'd given ourselves. How do we create more impact? By having more people plug in, by having more partners come and join. It could have been, supported and incubated by the World Bank. How do we make sure that other development partners plug in so that it does not have an end day? It's something that we build in, because resilience will not be built in 5 years. It has to be longer. We need to do more training. We need to find more solutions, and we need to expand it into the region. So one of the things that is critical, of course, because it's a predominantly Muslim community, we've developed together a Takaful product. We think one of the first in the parametric area, to be able to be local, to understand the needs, to do something that addresses practically you're on the ground. I'm looking at getting more countries involved in this. With the World Bank, we're talking about which are the other countries, the next countries. It really is a public-private partnership. It does that. So how do we keep pushing and finding the role of insurance as an enabler, but not everything, and other products and services that keep expanding? So we are committed to that.
And I really do think that this drive that you have towards this holistic approach to solutioning and bringing in both other governments that hopefully feel inspired by the success of the program. This is one of the few programs that I'm aware of that is ahead of its deadline, right, of delivery milestones. So it's a fantastic story. So Olivier, what are your commitments coming at COP28, and what are your calls to action?
This is very much to continue to push moving from mission to action. And while the Conference of Parties are also talking about the loss and damage process and mobilizing additional funding, which is a very important agenda as well, what we also observe from our side on the ground is what are the mechanisms to efficiently and timely channel those funding to the most vulnerable, those who need the most.
And for you, Hope, what's your commitment to action and what is your call to action?
So my commitment to action is really using the experience, the positioning we have in Drive to reach more people. The numbers, like we've said, was to reach 1.6 million pastoralists and their families. We commit to double that in the period. We commit on the crop side to reach millions of farmers. And my call to action is for partners to come on board. We need to move from talk to action, right? We need to be leaders that are in action. What is it that is working? What have we learned from it? How do we expand that? So I'm calling for partnerships. I'm calling for support so that we make this bigger and better. Thank you.
As we say thank you and farewell to Hope and Olivier, we embark on our journey from Zurich to COP28 in Dubai.